Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. I am Dan Hartley. Good to see you as usual. We're in a little bit of a different, well, I'm in a different setup. I'm on a different side. For those who watch this on a regular basis, you might be annoyed because just switch sides now. But today we don't have any news to go through because we're going to actually put on like our fixing caps, our thinking cap. What do you want to call this? What are we doing? We're like going to a construction site and we're fixing issues. And the main issue, which we've talked about many times, but now we're just going to spend an entire episode. And we want to hear from you too. All of your ideas. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave comments. Hit us up on Twitter at Dan Barbera, at Hartley Chart. What are we calling it? Is it X? Hit us up on X. I'm not going to call it that.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to call it that.
I'm not. I'm going to call it Twitter. Hit us up on Twitter at Dan Barbera, at Hartley Charlton. And please tell us how you would fix Apple's product lineup. But in the meantime, we're going to tell you how we would fix Apple's product lineup. So let's start with, do you want to start with the iPhone, or do you want to save that for last, or how do you want to start?
I think we should start with the iPhone because I think
All
that's
right.
a pretty important one.
Let's just jump right in. So what we mean by fixing the lineup is, essentially, I think a lot of people have become overwhelmed with the amount of choices and the names and like what's the difference between this and which one should I get. And so there's just a better way, in my opinion, to simplify things. And I think Hartley feels the same. So, and I'm sure a lot of you out there also feel strongly about this. So let's figure it out together. All right, Hartley, what would you do? Let's go through real quick. We have the iPhone SE. We have, and these are the phones that you can currently purchase from Apple, correct? So
Yeah.
we have the iPhone SE, the iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 14, the iPhone 14 Plus, the iPhone 14 Pro, and the 14 Pro Max. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different options that you can go into an Apple store right now and purchase. So what's the first thing that you would do to fix this?
Well, I think the first thing I would do is bring back the Mini, except I would bring it back as a Pro Mini or a Mini Pro.
Okay.
So looking at the iPhone 15 lineup, if that's when these hypothetical changes were being made, I'd like to see the lineup looking something like the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Mini, say.
Okay.
I think that's a good start.
iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Mini,
But
and then
I mean,
iPhone
it
15
doesn't
Pro
necessarily
Max.
have to, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be branded like that. I think that what I'm trying to get to is,
Well, I
I
think the
think,
branding should be part of this as well. I think we should fix the
okay,
branding.
I wouldn't actually use the Mini naming. What I effectively would propose with the whole iPhone lineup is that we just take it back a few years. Because I really liked when you had a standard model that was a mid-size and then two Pro models. So if we think back to, say, the iPhone uh, 11, where you had
Okay.
the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. The iPhone 11 Pro was smaller than the iPhone 11. So if you want to call that an iPhone Pro Mini or whatever, it's still smaller than the standard size model. I think that balance was better because, as I've said on previous podcasts, I think that more people that are interested in a Pro are actually interested in a mini-sized device than customers that are interested in a standard model. Um, and I think this would be a really clean way of tidying up that lineup. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I just propose basically taking it back a few years.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people would buy a Pro version of the Mini?
I think that the 5.8-inch iPhone, which existed through the iPhone 10, the iPhone 10s, and the iPhone 11 Pro, was incredibly popular for its size. I think people remember that size extremely nostalgically because it was such a perfect sweet spot of being bigger than any iPhone we'd had prior to that point, even bigger than, say, an iPhone 7 Plus, but also not too big and still being perfect for one-handed use. And so if that's what we're calling a mini form factor, then yes, absolutely. I think that people would. I think people would love it. I think people are increasingly fed up with um, oversized device. I mean, lately you've moved back to a slightly smaller device,
Yeah,
if I'm right.
so I was always a Pro Max person, so I just recently switched to the Pro. Um, and I think I just recently tweeted slash threaded. What do people call? I don't know. Doesn't matter. About the iPhone 10 being the perfect size, and that actually took off in terms of engagement and like just lots of. I wouldn't call it a viral tweet, but for my you know purpose, I thought that was like a pretty high performing tweet in the sense of like lots of people had an opinion, lots of people agreed with me, but then there were people who did like what you just said, were like all aboard the mini train. And I'm just wondering because Apple has sales and insights that we just we can guess, and they allure to some of it, but we don't know what their sales are, and they have way more advanced metrics on all of that. So my guess is the obvious reason why they just removed the mini was because um, people just weren't buying it. But we don't know how that would translate to a pro version. I know a lot of people that I see and follow or just get recommended tweets have said they would love a pro version of a mini or just bring back the mini. But is that more of like the vocal minority, or is that like the general consensus? I think people really like big phones, and I think people really like pro models. Like I think that's what it is. Um, so my first off, I don't think we should be going back 2 years in terms of sales. So like when the 15 comes out, I don't think we should keep the 13s around because right now we're keeping the 12s. That's way too many choices. Let those be a like certified refurbished. If you want people to get a deal, people will buy those up. Let those be secondhand devices that people get on Amazon or whatever they might do. Um, I don't even think we should be going back to the 14, but it is what it is. Personally, I think Apple should always just drop the name or the like not the numbers. Keep the number, that's fine, but drop the moniker to the size. So we don't need mini, we don't need max. You just know that there is 3 different sizes of these phones. There's a small, medium, large. So I'm cool with having a mini version, a pro. So it should be iPhone 15 comes in 3 sizes, which is still a lot of choices, but I feel like it's easier to digest. This is the standard iPhone, these are the features it gets, and these are the sizes. You have a 5 point. What size were you going to make the mini? The same size as it is now, because that's 5.4, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I effectively would like to go back to the 5.8 inch
Okay, yeah.
of
So same here.
the 11 Pro.
So it would be iPhone 15, 5 would be the mini would be the 5.8. Then you have the regular sized 6.1, and then the max version or plus, whatever they want to call it, which you wouldn't call it anything because that's my whole point, is that you would remove these names and you'd have a 6.7. And you don't have to put the names in. Just people would know when you go to the Apple store, there are 3 choices. They're laid out right in front of you, small, medium, large. And then you move over to the right or left, you shift over, and there's the Pro models. And now you have an iPhone 15 Pro. And look at that. There's 3 sizes, and all the features are exactly the same. It's just different sizes. Obviously, there's going to be different batteries, and obviously, there's different display sizes. Those are the only differences in terms of what you get. And it's super simple. And then there's an iPhone SE, which should just be a recycled version of whatever the phone was, I don't know, 2 years ago, a year ago, right? Like that's the only other phone that's not the current name is the SE. And it's just
I think
significantly
the
cheaper.
SE, I think the way that the SE should work and the way that the older models should work is I agree with you that the basically below the current model year, all of the previous models should just be discontinued. However, I think maybe every 2 years, like clockwork, there should be a new SE. The SE doesn't need to be updated every year. And that SE should have a lot of that hardware from whatever came from the previous 2 years. Um, and I think that I wouldn't have 3 model sizes at the pro end. I would have just 2 because I don't think that the middle size would be very popular. I think that ultimately, if you're interested in a pro model, you're either interested in a small one or a big one. I think there are very few people that are saying, no, what I really want is a medium-sized pro
Well,
model.
and honestly, I'm okay with that, and I'm totally fine with just going iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Pro coming in two sizes, 5.8, because it is the sweet spot. So this was my thought before you made the iPhone Mini a different size than it currently is, because I think the Mini, while I do like the fact that it's so small and pocketable, um, sometimes I just feel like that might be a little too small for me. So like I would kind of like the three options there because I know some people would like that. But no, you're right. The 5.8 is the sweet spot. 6.7 is a good spot for those who want large phones. You're right. We don't need the middle. So then there you go. And if you really want to have a name to differentiate it, can you just make it Max on both sides? So iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Max. The Max signifies the size. It's its maximum size. You
I think it
can
should be
easily
plus though.
market that.
Plus,
No,
plus to me, I feel better about
well, no,
than
because
Max.
but it's dumb because then you go to the Pro lineup and it's what, Pro Plus? They're not going to do that. And if they stick with Pro Max, it doesn't make any damn sense. Why are we changing the name? To me,
I
the
don't think we
Pro.
even need it. I think that you're right when you say it just indicate it by size, just by the number of inches.
That's okay. Well, then thank you. I appreciate you saying I'm right. I don't hear that all too often, so I appreciate that. No, like, but I'm just saying if Apple just has to have a name, just make it the same across. Because in my mind, the Pro signifies the performance, and the whatever comes after that is the size. So if there is nothing after that, it's the standard size. And if it's Max or Plus, it's the size of the phone. Like we don't get iPhone 15 Plus. What does that mean to you? Does that mean there's more performance in the iPhone? No, it just means it's the bigger size. So like I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, but Max should just mean the Max performance because look at the Max chip and that's like I don't think they mean anything. I honestly do not think Apple knows what it means. I think they're just throwing names that sound good to them out there and that fit kind of what they've been doing. And there's no cohesion, which is what we're trying to do in this whole podcast. So, okay, so it sounds like we've got the standard, like the normal 15. We're just going to say 15 because that's the next generation. So it sounds like we've got that lined up, right? And then the iPhone SE, you want to keep it as what? That would be a smaller phone, or would that be like a 5.8-inch phone?
I think it should be very similar to the single standard model that would be updated annually, except as I say, with technology from the previous 2 years updated on a cycle of every 2 years.
I agree. So yeah, it will always look like the new iPhone, but it's just less stuff. Like maybe a lower display. Maybe the cameras are not as good. The chip is from 2 years ago, so it's not as. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so if you like, if it was to be with the iPhone 15 lineup, it would be that you would have the the iPhone 15 Pro in two sizes. You'd have the standard iPhone 15, and then you'd have an iPhone SE that is based on the iPhone 13
Okay.
from 2 years prior.
Okay.
So you would still get stuff like the A15 chip, which is still, it's still a very current technology, but you don't get Dynamic Island. You still get the notch, but you get the smaller notch from the iPhone 13. I think that that is an appropriate level of technology for the iPhone SE. In some respects, I mean, the iPhone SE currently has the A15 anyway. I mean, it's a bit outdated in its current design, but I think that there does need to be something at a slightly lower price point than the standard model. And I think that just four models, is really simple in the Apple Store, and you don't feel like you're getting old hardware with any of them. Um, and I think that you would walk out of the Apple Store pretty happy with any of those.
And it just makes sense. Like that, isn't that what we all like? Apple is like a simple, clean, modern, sleek, like the stores, the logos, like everything they do from a design standpoint in terms of like its appearance and obviously the retail stores and the website. Well, the website, maybe not, but like everything you think is more of like it's simple, it's simplicity. We don't even get to do some of the things that people want to do on their phones because Apple wants to make it simple and just, this is the way it is. Why are we bogging it down with 9 different phones that you can buy? Is it just an inventory thing? Like let's just assume in this world that like Apple doesn't care about if they sold out the rest of these phones or not. Like they're just moving on. Um I'm like, why? We don't need any of that stuff. So that personally, I agree with you. 5.8 sweet spot, perfect. Like, I would buy that. I would definitely buy that. Now I'm
Yeah.
really sad that this isn't actually going to be the reality, unfortunately.
That's why I think it's a shame because I think we came so close around the time of the iPhone XS and the iPhone 11. I think that that's the closest we got to a really nice, clean, modern iPhone lineup.
Well, even the 10, that was kind of like, I don't know. It was interesting because the 10 was the more premium phone, but there was only one of them, and you couldn't do.
Well, that was like having an ultra model, basically. That was like
Yeah,
having something above. So they had, at that point, the
the
iPhone
8.
SE, the 8 and 8 Plus, and then
Yeah.
above that, the iPhone 10. And I'm pretty sure there were some older models still on sale at that time. So there may have still been the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus kicking around at that time.
So I mean, it's pretty much what we're doing, but we're just adding a bigger size for the Pro for the Pro
Yeah,
model.
and taking away a size for the standard models.
Yeah.
I mean, the iPhone 15 Plus has not been popular for sales. Not really been more popular than the mini form factor. And I think it's just because at the entry level, people are not interested
Wait.
in multiple.
Oh, I must have missed this. So you would not have two sizes for the 15.
Not for the standard 15, no.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. I do think the Plus is worthless as well. It's just like, I mean, I don't know. It's not worthless. There are
I just think
people out there
that is
who,
where you have your medium size.
yeah.
That's just for the average person. They want something not too big, not too small. I don't think it matters. They just want
So
an
that would
easy
be
decision.
6.1.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for that.
Okay, I can get behind that. I am so curious to hear what everybody else is going to say. I really hope that if you're listening, you hit us up and leave comments, tweets, whatever, because this is one of those things where, there's a lot of, I think there are a lot of people that agree with us, but there could be some vocal minority that do not. And I want to hear why and how it makes sense for them. Moving on to the iPad, which I think is probably one of the worst lineups in the sense that there's not as many products, but it's all dumb. I'm not trying to be harsh, but it's just the way things are laid out. It's just not ideal. We'll say that. So we have the 9th generation iPad, the 10th generation iPad, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro 11 and 12.9 inch. And on these notes, Hartley, you forgot about the mini.
I did forget about the mini,
Yeah.
but doesn't
So
everyone just forget about the iPad mini?
exactly, which is why we're doing this, because it doesn't make any sense. So, all right, I guess I had you start, so I'll start with this one. And I think it's simple. It's going to follow the same guidelines as the iPhone. Was I saying I was saying iPad, right? I feel like I was saying iPhone after every little. Anyways, you know what I mean. We're talking iPads. Okay. So there should just be one standard iPad model, okay? One iPad. Just a standard iPad 10 point whatever the inches are. What is it? 10.9?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the iPad. Then you have an iPad Pro. I think this is where I'm going to get a little controversial. I think it should just be. I think the Pro should just be one size. And I think it should
Ooh.
and I think it should just be the larger size.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't
I
know
don't
and
know
I don't
about that.
know and I don't know that even I am fully on board with that idea.
I think I can fix that for you.
Okay,
I know
good.
how to
Talk
get
me
around
into
that.
something else. But right now I'm feeling like I just want 3 iPads, a small, medium, and large.
I agree size wise, that makes sense. But this is how I think they should be split up. I think you should have an iPad SE, like the entry level iPad. But let's actually make it clear for people to understand. So that's your iPad SE. That is available in one size only. And let's
Okay.
make that the
So that's
10.9
my
inch model,
standard
just so I can
iPad
explain
is what
that.
I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, similar to the iPhone, we have a standard model also available in only one size. Again, this would be like your iPad Air. So again, that isn't too different from now.
Okay.
Then this is where I would change things. I would say the iPad Pro should be available in two sizes, but one of those should be the size of the iPad mini. So that is effectively your iPad mini. So it should be an iPad mini Pro.
Okay.
Um, and I think I think there is a case for that. That is like a slightly separate discussion. But I would also say that the larger model should not be 12.9 inches. That should also be a little bit smaller, probably hovering at around 12 inches rather than 12.9. And then
Uh-oh.
I
We're
would say
getting
that you
bigger.
should have something like an iPad Ultra that exists above the iPad Pro lineup, which maybe could be 14 inches. And that is maybe something that has two ports and is a bit more like a laptop-like device. And I think that covers all bases.
I hate this. I hate it because like
Oh no.
no, I hate it because it's not a bad plan. Like makes sense, I guess. I mean, I hate that it makes sense because it shouldn't. It's still too complicated. Like because in my mind, I understand why you think that there should be a pro version of the mini. This is very much just like pretty much what you just said with the phone. But I think this is where we start to differ in that because if I'm buying a mini iPad, I don't think I want it to be having pro capabilities. I think it just needs to be bottom barrel, better for kids, um, and and I don't know if that's because I just have kids and that's why. And like personally, when I'm using an iPad, I want it to be bigger than my phone, and I want it to be substantially bigger than my phone, and I would be using it for media consumption, and ultimately if I can do work on. So like that's what the larger pro models do for me. I want to be able to watch something with a larger screen and I want to be able to do parts of my job, if not all of it. And so the pro model fits me perfectly. If I'm buying anything less than that, it is for me strictly a content consumption device, and half of the content consumption being text is fine on almost any iPad for me, but media, specifically visual media, needs to be on something larger. Otherwise, I would just what's the point? I would just use my phone.
Let me see if I can try and convince you. So, if there were to be, say, two entry-level iPad sizes, like you say, appropriate for kids, one being the size of an iPad mini and one being the size of the entry-level iPad, I don't think anyone would buy the iPad mini size one because why would you? I mean, it's a 10.9 inch device. I mean, a kid can still use a 10.9 inch iPad. So, what would be the advantage of getting a smaller one? Say for in an education situation, a school isn't going to buy 30 iPad minis. They will just buy 30 standard sized iPads.
Well, I
So
think
I
it
don't
should
think
be
there's enough of a market.
significantly. I think it should be significantly cheaper, like $200, and the other one starts at 350.
I don't inherently disagree with that because, as we discussed before, I think there is a place for like an entry level iOS device, a bit like the iPod Touch used to be. So I could accept that at the lower end, but the argument for a Pro mini-sized iPad, I think, is that there are some features like it will be OLED. The iPad Pro will be OLED within what, 6 months? To have OLED on that small device, even just for reading text, will be a game changer. ProMotion as well. Perfect for playing games, perfect for even just animations. It's something that it's so fundamental ProMotion to your basic interaction with the device that is something that a mini-sized device can take advantage of.
Yeah.
So even if that's all you're thinking about ProMotion, and you are thinking about uh, I mean, I'd say there's even more than that because also the Pro models are thinner and lighter. They obviously are more powerful. You get Thunderbolt, which could be really useful for if you want to connect it to an external display and use Stage Manager. Um, it could be a little powerhouse. And even
Yeah,
with LiDAR, with AR,
I
or using
guess
it as a camera. I mean, I think there is a case for a Pro Mini.
I guess you're talking me into it a little bit more if like my main use case was like, okay, I use the iPad on the go as a normal iPad. It's far more portable. It's a great display. I'll get over it. I'm not watching it on an iMac screen or whatever, but it's fine. But then when I'm working, I want more display. But you're saying, well, when you get to your job or wherever, you plug it into your studio display or whatever display you're going to use it in via Thunderbolt, and now you've got a bigger, but like I'm thinking on the go, because whenever I use my iPads, it's mostly when I'm traveling. And so I don't carry around larger displays and I'm not plugging it in that way. I could see the appeal of what you're saying. And like basically, like Samsung's Dex, like that was such a good idea, but just I don't know that it's catching on. Like I don't know. I don't use that ecosystem a whole lot, but if like Apple did that, I could maybe see like, oh, my phone is powerful enough to be my computer when I plug it into the office and it just looks like Mac OS then all of a sudden. Like that would be cool. And that's what Dex did. It took your phone, and then when you plugged it into your monitor, it basically made it a desktop computer. So yeah, I can see the iPad behaving like that, and I could be intrigued by it. But I just think ultimately iPads are still more of a carry on the go. And you're thinking of reading on a great screen like that, small. You're holding the iPad. How often do people hold the iPad is the real question. So, and I'm talking bigger sizes. Like I don't hold my iPad Pro 12.9 inch. Obviously, it's too big. I keep it in the Magic Keyboard case. I think that's perfect. I never take it off of it. Even with an 11 inch or the Air, I'm rarely holding it. It lives in the keyboard case. So that's my thought process on that.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think the iPad lineup, clearly because it's such a sort of, it's still such an undefined product line, it's really difficult to narrow it down. And I can see why it's got as messy as it has with this many models on sale. But I think we can both agree, at least, that the ninth generation iPad needs to disappear and we need to just have one entry level model to start. And I think we can also agree that the Mini either needs to move down and become more entry level, or it needs to move up and become more pro. But just keeping it in this middle price point of around $500 isn't right for that device.
The Air?
The Mini.
Oh, yeah. No, the Mini needs to come down a lot in price. My biggest beef is the Air. I just think it needs to go. In the sense of
I
like, we don't need all of them with that. If it's got almost the same power as a Pro, but it just has a little bit less screen and like, you don't have USB-C, you don't have Face ID. Like, I don't know. Who is that targeting? Just make that the standard iPad then.
I think that I think it would clean things up to get rid of the iPad Air. But I do understand why some people choose it. Because if you don't care about ProMotion and you don't care about having a LiDAR scanner and you don't care about Thunderbolt and you just want good multitasking, which you can't do on those entry level models, and you also want a better display, you want a faster USB port that's at least not USB 2 speeds. You want something that is more. I tell you who I imagine it for. It's like for students. Like the iPad Air is the perfect iPad for
Okay.
students, not the iPad Pro.
Okay, I got it. This is going to be wild because I'm basically changing the entire, like, we're not just changing the lineup, we're changing the way the looks, the materials. You ready? And I'm going to borrow your stuff. I can be talked into this. Okay. There's the iPad SE, right? That is for kids and people who don't really care. They're just like, I need to be able to watch Netflix on the go, and I don't want to spend $500 on an iPad. Those will retail for $250, and honestly, I think $150, and they should be made with really cheap, like screen is whatever the oldest quality display they had, and the back is almost a plastic like iPhone 5C kind of design. Those are primarily targeted at kids and those who just don't really care. So it'd be like a 150, 250 option. Those are your iPad SEs. Then the standard iPad is your iPad Air. That is a $499 plus, whatever your configurations are. And I think those other two iPads should only have one level of storage option. I don't know, pick 512 or 256, pick something that would be decent. You can't give 64 anymore. Like whatever they can get away with making the cheapest option that's still remotely okay for people. But that would compete really well with your Fire tablets and stuff, because we bought our kid a Fire tablet because it's cheap, and it is almost too cheap. But right now, and like we're eventually going to graduate them to an iPad, but like think about it if we didn't have to and we just bought this right off the bat. I feel like there'd be more sales for a lot of families. So that's your two bottom barrel. Then you have the iPad Air, starts at $499. It is basically, or your iPad, but it's basically your iPad Air, so it's all the same, follows the same formula. Then you have your Pro, $799, $899, $999. They probably wouldn't do that. What does the 12.9 inch start at right now? Is it $1099 or does it start at $999?
Actually, not sure. I can't remember that on that one.
Let's just say it's either $799, $899, $999 for 3 different sizes of the Pro model. You can have your mini. You can have like a standard 10 point whatever inch. It doesn't need to be any different sizes. Like let's try to keep them let's try to keep them the same. We don't need an 11 inch and then a 10.9. Just make it either 11 or not. So that's your stand. They're all following the sizes of the SE and the iPad. And you have your small, medium, large there. And those are your Pro models. And they either go $799, $899, $999, or $8, $9, and $1,099, whatever that would be, $1,099. And there you go. Boom, fixed. And you have your iPad SE, your iPad, and your iPad Pro. And those are your names for it.
Yeah.
Could you get behind that? Okay, see? There we go.
Definitely.
Now, the only controversial part of that is the price points of the SE and the fact that we're changing the build quality, but I don't know. And then that would still retain your home button. It would still have chonky bezels. I think in order to cut more costs, you probably need to make that aluminum, like almost a plastic. But $150 for a mini version, I think those would sell like crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think any Apple device in that product. I mean, think of a price category. Think of like the HomePod Mini.
Yeah.
At $999. It's a perfectly priced product. And far less than you would expect from Apple, actually.
And even if it was $199, $299, and then $499 for because you are getting a substantial jump, so should probably be a couple $100 worth to get to the regular iPad at $499. And then you get to the Pro, another $400. You basically double it. Is that where that's where we really, is the iPad Pro currently worth its price that it is now? Probably not. But yeah, I think that's a good mix of both of our ideas.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Okay, curious to hear your thoughts again. Come in and yell at us. Are we totally off base? Are we right or wrong? Who knows? All right, let's jump into the Mac. Boy,
that's the big one.
I'm gonna let you start this one, but we currently have MacBook Air. This is gonna suck. There's so many options. Okay, so we have the MacBook Air M1, the MacBook Air M2 in both 13.6 and 15.3 inch sizes. We have MacBook Pro in 14 and 16. We have an iMac. We have a Mac Mini. We have a Mac Studio. We have a Mac Pro.
But also, I forgot one on the list.
What would you forget?
The
MacBook Pro 13 inch.
Yeah.
Honestly, though,
the fact that everyone forgets.
Yeah, honestly, I think in this scenario we should. Well, you know what? We'll put it on the list. MacBook Pro. I guarantee you, as you're formulating your lineup, you're gonna forget about it again. So we'll just take it as it is.
I probably will. I think. This is really difficult. I think that there is space for like a MacBook SE.
Sure.
For the lowest end, which at the moment is like the M1 MacBook Air, but I don't think it should be a MacBook Air because I think that when that M1 model disappears, it's going to be a little bit more toward the high end with the new design. I think there is space for that sort of device with a single USB-C port, a little bit like the 12-inch MacBook from years ago. If you were to have a device like that now that lets you get into the Mac ecosystem and lets you connect to an external display, But it just is a small, highly portable device. And if you like, you can use your composite materials to, bring the price point down. But the objective of that Mac should be to have something really accessible. Again, great for schools, education settings. Maybe it's your first Mac. I think there needs to be something like that for a sub $1,000 price point. Then, so we've got the MacBook Air. I think that's actually okay where it is. I think the price point is pretty good for where it is, and I actually think the display sizes are pretty good. And
Let's target the MacBooks as one singular thing, and then we'll move on to the rest. So keep
okay,
going with your MacBooks, and then I'll go with mine.
um, I would then look at the Pro models, and I think the only difference I would make is I would probably shift their display sizes to be slightly bigger on both, because I think the overlap at the moment where you have the smaller Air and the Air and then the larger Air, but the larger Air is larger than the smaller Pro. Um, that sort of bothers me as a user of the 14-inch MacBook Pro because I sort of get tempted to have something that is in that sweet spot of 15.3 inches. So I would quite like something in that size. So if you like, maybe we have a 15-inch and a 17-inch MacBook Pro instead. But I will say, other than at the lowest end, I think the MacBook lineup is pretty strong as it stands.
What would you do with the chip? What models would get what chip?
I think that the under the current with the current technology that's available, the MacBook SE, if you like, can have the M1. The MacBook Airs are fine as they are, except I would really like to see an M2 Pro option for at least the 15-inch model because it is a larger chip, so there should be the space inside the chassis for it. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think that's fine. I would also maybe have a standard M2 option for the smaller MacBook Pro, and that is what should be in place of the M2 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Okay. Oh boy, I don't know. I have so many different thoughts. I'm trying to just make this as simple as possible. I think the MacBook SE, like you're right, there should be a cheap model. And it should, when we call it a MacBook, the MacBook and the MacBook SE and the MacBook Pro should look identical in terms of the design. Near like the same, but you cut a few things. But like in terms of the way it's built, the edges, the taper, like it looks the same. Then you strip back the quality of the display. You strip maybe the notch if you want to make it just full bezels. That's fine. Does that really add cost? No, but it's what differentiates. So I get it. So we'll remove that. There's no touch bar anymore. Sorry, people with touch bar. This is just overcomplicating the lineup. So let's remove it. That seems like a pro feature. We're going to remove that from this. And it comes in.
USB-C port?
Yeah, I think you could do, I guess, one. But I honestly
Yeah,
think it should be two. I think it should be two. Two
I
USB
think it
ports,
should be one.
two USB-C ports, no headphone jack.
Okay.
No headphone jack. Because ultimately, it said this is where I'm thinking this is perfect for like students who just need a MacBook to write out, they're trying to get by cheapest stuff. They're just writing not writing articles. They're just writing documents. They're reading their textbooks on there. They're doing basic stuff. They need to access the web. But they wanted a form factor of a laptop. You don't want to get an iPad. I got it. Cool. That would run, in the current landscape of things, it would be the M1. And it's super cheap. I don't know what it would be. $599? Could they do something like that? $699?
I think it's still going to be more expensive, basically, than the iPad Pro. I think that's how it should be priced.
So
Whatever
eight
the
ninety nine.
size. Yeah, I think that seems appropriate.
Okay, $899. I'm almost inclined to say there should be like one storage configuration too, but
Yeah, that's fine.
512 maybe seems to be a good sweet spot, and that's it. That's what you get. And there's literally one size, and should it be 13-inch?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
probably. I mean, if
So
you were to reduce the bezels of a 12-inch MacBook, that's going to be toward 13-inch.
yeah, so that's it. That's your SE. That's your cheap model. Then you have the Air. It's probably going to get a price increase because there's going to be a pretty substantial jump between the Air and that one. Well, not really, but I don't know. Let's just
I think it's a justifiable thing. What would that be, like $400 difference?
$899. So you think it starts at $12.99 then?
Doesn't it at the moment? No,
No, it's nine
it's
ninety
less than that,
nine.
isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it 999
No,
for
no,
the?
the M2 MacBook Air
Yeah,
starts at
9 or 10.
it's 10.
Okay, so 10.99, 11.99. Yeah, that's fine. So 11.99, 12.99 maybe then.
Yeah,
Okay, so MacBook
I think it's
Air.
got to be at least $200 difference.
So I think the MacBook Air then is the next one. This is the medium performance, probably good for everyone type deal. Um, and I think it should just be called MacBook. I really don't think it should be having an Air name to it. Um, but it still keeps everything about it. I just think this should just be called the MacBook. And it comes in 13, 15, like what we have now. And you can go M2 and M2 Pro. And that's it. I think it should be exactly the same. And then the
Yeah,
Pro versions should be 14, 16, maybe. God, could we go 15, 17? 15,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think 15, 17, and
There
it
used to be a
all,
17-inch MacBook Pro. It's been done before.
and I honestly think it should only come in. I guess Pro and Max is fine, but I was gonna say it should come in Max and Ultra. If you want a Pro, M2 Pro,
Ah, see, I don't think that makes sense because
can they?
the only benefit over getting the Max over the Pro is just graphics performance. Effectively, I know you get more memory bandwidth, but it's not a more like the CPU isn't more
All
powerful.
right, then keep the chips. Don't I? Yeah, I'm trying. It's hard. The chips really add a wrinkle into this.
Yeah,
But I'm just
yeah.
thinking for more of like a design and a selection option, then that's fine. Just keep it the way it is for simplicity. MacBook Pro gets the M2 Pro and M2 Max. And if they're, do you think there'll ever be an Ultra MacBook? Probably not, right?
No,
Okay, so then we'll just
no,
keep it there.
because the chip would be physically too big because it's
Okay,
two
yeah,
Mac size chips glued together, so
right.
that physically would be very large.
And that makes it easier. So the MacBook SE is a MacBook Pro body style, but stripped down a lot to be just a, you know, maybe it's even made of plastic like it used to be back in the day. I don't know. Like it's the same style, it looks the same, but it's like borderline a plastic material. Doesn't need to be aluminum. We want to strip this thing down so that it's affordable. And like the choice that people would make if that was the case. And then the Air should have a nice bump, but it's not called the Air, it's just your MacBook. It comes in those two sizes, and the MacBook Pro comes in. I feel like they should come in the same sizes. That's why I want to make them the same. I think they should both be 14 or 16 or 13 and 15. And just for the sake of simplicity, and just like it goes with the iPhone and the iPad, they come in the same sizes. So it's the same thing between the MacBook and the MacBook Pro. But that's just me. I think a lot of people will hate that one personally. But there's just too many options. We don't need a touch bar. Sorry, touch bar people. I'm sorry. It needs to go. We don't need a 13-inch MacBook that's random unless it's heavily discounted and it fits us. It's not a Pro. It's not going to be labeled Pro. It's got to be labeled just something less than that. And that's it. That's my MacBook lineup. It's a good combination of us both again.
Yeah,
Um, iMac.
I feel like the desktops are really easy actually.
You think so?
I
24
feel
and
I think
32 or 24 and 27?
uh, I probably would go somewhere in the middle at like 29 or 28. So 24 and maybe 29 inches. I think 32 is pushing it. But here's what I would do. So I
Well,
would go for
yeah, okay.
I I'd go for iMac in two sizes. iMac Pro in two sizes,
Yes.
and then I would simply beyond that have the Mac, not the Mac Studio, not the Mac Mini, just the Mac, in which basically would be like a Mac Studio, and depending on which chip you configure it with, will depend. That will determine its physical size, um,
And
because of
then
the
the Mac Pro.
external restraints. And then you have above that the Mac Pro.
What about the Mac
Um,
Mini?
that would to me just become the Mac.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like the Mac Studio and the Mac Mini, they look the same anyway, one's just shorter than the other, and that is basically just because of their thermals.
So you make that the
So
Mac, and that would come in an M2, M2 Pro, and M2 Max configuration?
yeah.
And then the Mac Pro would come in Mac
Well, also you could also get an M2 Ultra.
in the Mac?
Yeah, because that would be in place of the Mac Studio.
I guess yeah, so it's just it would be encompassing the Mac Mini and the Mac Studio in just one body type.
Yeah.
And it has the performance capabilities of okay. Well, do you think it could be able to do that though? Isn't the reason why these things are so big is because of the so there wouldn't be a Mac Mini anymore. It would be the same as the Studio.
Yeah, but what I would do is I would just say that the sort of the body size you receive is just determined by which chip you choose. So there would still be physically different sizes and heights for them. But it's just if you choose the M2
Yeah.
model, you get the little short one.
Okay.
And if you choose the M2 Ultra one, you get the tall one. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I was gonna say that seems dumb and not efficient and for Apple to do that, but they're already doing it, so it doesn't matter. They're just different names. You're right. Yeah. No, that's a good idea. Okay. So that would be the Mac, and then you have the Mac Pro. Would that change or just be the same? I mean, you don't have to come up with a new, entirely different design.
It's hard to say because I don't think the current Mac Pro is how the Mac Pro will be in the future.
Sure.
So in a future, I can sort of if we could get like a trash can Mac Pro style Apple Silicon Mac,
nope,
with maybe two PCIe slots,
the Cube
inside. Yeah. Okay.
Bring the Cube.
I back that. The Cube. I like that.
And it's transparent.
Well, that's the charm, isn't it? It's not going to be the same if it doesn't have the glass.
Well, you never know. They try to change things too much and it ruins it. Yeah, I honestly, I really like that. I could get behind it. The only thing that I would make with the iMac difference is I would go iMac 24 and 27 inch, iMac Pro 2732. And
oh yeah, that's way better. Yeah.
Yeah. It would just be called iMac and iMac Pro, following along with everything else that we've done, but there would just be two options for each one. And here's the spicy take of that is the iMac Pro will look a little different. In my mind, I feel like an iMac Pro should just look like a Pro Display XDR in terms of the design. I think it looks sweet. And so you'll have that lattice back. Maybe it's not the same style display or whatever, but who cares about the specs point? But I want it to look like that. But I think the front should be able to come in. Well, I don't know how they'll be able to do that. Well, there's going to be a chin, right? And there's got to be the iMac chin. So I think the front should have. I think there should be colors. Is where I'm getting at. It should match the iMac. The iMac and iMac Pro should be almost nearly identical in terms of the colors and the overall look. It's just the back can maybe have the lattice to make it look more pro-y, but like you can make a normal silver one, you can make a normal space gray one if you want, but then I think there should be fun colors. And honestly, the fun color point spreads across all things that are offered in colors. So iPhones, you got them in fun colors. I personally believe they should be offered in the Pro models as well.
See, that's where we just I like the idea of. If
hold on, save this. This will be a bonus. We'll come back to it. Save it.
Okay.
Real quick, studio display or external displays. Are you happy with studio display and Pro display?
External displays, we should do the exact same thing that you just proposed with iMac. So the studio display, or if you just like, it would just be the Apple display, because it's also appropriate for the iPad, a bunch of other stuff. So that would be in, as you say, 24 and 27. And then you have your Pro display available in 27 and 32.
I miss the cinema display name. I love that name. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. No one's watching cinemas on. I mean, you are, but like, it's just such a pretentious like stupid name, but I really liked it. It just sounded
Studio
fancy.
Display is pretty close. It's pretty close.
Cinema display. Anyways, yeah, no, I think it should just be Studio Display and Studio Display Pro. Honestly, we can drop the whole Pro Display XDR and just make it simple. And it should come in those sizes. I can get behind that. AirPods, I think those are fine.
I would,
but I think the AirPods
make...
Max should be AirPod Studio.
Yeah, like it was rumored.
Yeah.
I like that. The other change I would make is I would. Okay, this is going to be maybe this is a little bit too ambitious, but there are rumors that Apple is going to bring out a $99 variant of the standard AirPods. So I think that is possible to do that as like AirPods SE, if you like, at the low end again, recycling the older technology at a lower price point, and that is actually rumored, so that isn't too crazy. Then I would do AirPods Pro, except I would do them in a tip version and a non-tip version. So if you get the standard AirPods without tips, that would now be AirPods Pro, but without silicon tips. So you still get a whole load of those Pro features like MagSafe, not MagSafe, Apple Watch charging, like the H2 chip, maybe the precision finding, stuff that is currently exclusive to the AirPods Pro, that there is no reason why that can't come to the standard AirPods. And maybe with the new AirPods Studio, could there be a lighter version of those, like AirPods Air, AirPods Max SE? But like, you get what I'm saying, something that looks more
AirPods
like
Studio
the
SE.
Beats, like a plastic AirPods Max that's more focused on for workouts. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying this what should happen. I'm
Well, it
just
could be
trying to
like,
rethink a little bit.
yeah. Well, it could just be like an AirPods Studio Active, or
Yeah,
AirPods Studio Lite,
sports like it used to be for
AirPods
the
Sport,
Apple Watch.
AirPods Sport, and AirPods Studio, and they could just be over ears that are one's a little lighter, less premium materials. I don't know. Yeah, I could see
I think
that.
that would work well. So you would get the AirPods SE, $99 exactly as rumored, although they're not actually rumored to be called AirPods SE, but entry level AirPods. Then for, let's say, $200, you can get the tipless AirPods Pro. For $250, you can get the AirPods Pro with tips. Then you get AirPods Sport for $400, and then for $500, you get AirPods Studio.
Sure. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with the current HomePod setup. And if they ever add a display one, then that
Yeah.
would be the Elite. And then Apple TV, do I even care? Just make it one box and be done with it.
Yeah.
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 I don't think we need a 4K and an HD. At this point, every person has a 4K TV. And if you don't,
There is no HD.
oh, they don't do that anymore? See, that's how much I pay attention to the Apple TV. They don't do that anymore. When did they stop doing that? Last year?
When the new one came out. So now there is only one Apple TV
Oh, okay. Then they
model,
perfected it.
and it comes in two variants, and that determines the amount of storage. I think it determines also whether you get Thread and whether you get
Yes.
an Ethernet port.
Let's eliminate that crap right there and just give everything. Just the variants are the sizes. We don't. That is so confusing because people don't. It's just like, it's so misleading. Like, oh, I'll just get this cheaper one and it's got a different size. But no, but you're not getting two things that are kind of important. Well, the Ethernet's probably not important, but Thread is kind of important if you got a lot of, HomeKit devices.
Yeah, and no one's realistically, the storage thing with Apple TVs are weird because no one's really like filling up the storage on their Apple TV. So you can actually offer that device in just one storage configuration.
You could make it, what is it right now? 32 and 128? Isn't it like a massive jump?
Yeah.
Yeah, just make it
no, I think it's 64 and 128.
Okay, that makes sense. So just make it one size, 128. It's done. There should just be one model. One model. That's all we need. Or if you really want to make this more fun, because that's the whole point of this, right? We're in a fantasy land.
Are you going to say like a Apple TV SE with like a stick?
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
and that's like $99, something crazy cheap. How much is the? I don't even know how much the Apple TV is right now. It's like
It's not
150.
much. I think it's like, yeah, it's
Okay,
not a lot of money.
so then maybe this is like $50, and it just gets you the UI. It's pretty. I almost said something that I shouldn't say. It's pretty bad in terms of like it's not as fluid, it's a little, but not not purposely making it bad, but it's probably not as fast to load apps and things, but it gets you by. I mean, it's going to play the content fine, probably play it in 4K. But it's just something that sticks behind your TV. And I think a lot of people would buy that. They don't want a box.
Yeah.
I honestly think I would switch a lot of my TVs to that. Just makes it so much easier.
I would like to see the Apple TV, whatever happens, move to just being a stick design.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Do that. Maybe it is all the same performance capabilities for like everyday content, but you just don't play games on it, because I feel like that's probably where you need that size, right, for heat
Or it's just,
thermals.
I think there is a case for that you don't get certain, like you don't need support for HDR10 plus, say.
Sure.
You don't need the
Probably
latest
don't
chip.
get
So
right on that.
there is case for like I don't want to call it an Apple TV Pro, but if you are an enthusiast that cares about your home theater setup, then there's an Apple TV for you, and then there's an Apple TV for everyone else.
I'm surprised they haven't done this yet. I guess the Apple TVs now kind of probably sell enough as it is, but I don't know. If you had one at price at like $50 that could basically do what everybody uses their Apple TV for anyways.
Well, this leaked last year, supposedly that Apple was working on a low cost Apple TV stick, and it was going to launch alongside, I believe, Apple TV Plus. That was the whole idea. But I believe it was Phil Schiller actually that said no, because it would undermine Apple's premium offerings across the board. And this is ultimately why all of these things we've been saying about how don't mind a plastic enclosure and we don't mind an SE, they won't do it. They won't do things that are less performative. They want to showcase only the best, basically.
Yeah.
And it was considered. The guy, I believe, was actually, I don't know if he lost his job or I don't remember the story entirely, but
Oh God,
the guy that had pioneered the Apple TV stick, he's not there anymore, at least.
Why? Let's hire him for something. I don't know what we use him for, but that's a brilliant idea, my guy. Don't feel disappointed that they didn't go for it. There's a reason why Chromecasts sold like they did, because they were cheap and easy, and Fire Sticks are super popular, mostly because people are jailbreaking them and making them into illegal things. But besides the point. Does that happen in the UK for you guys? Are those super popular?
I don't know. I'm not really
Do you know what I'm
up on
talking
that.
about? Oh, okay. So jailbroken
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I don't know how popular it is.
Oh, they're super popular here. You buy them for like $20 and you get them from some random guy on the street, and he like literally, I don't have any. I'm just speaking through people, but it's like it runs whatever the software is that can download and pirate these shows and stuff. So yeah, but it's just all streaming stick. It's a brilliant idea, but definitely not legal. Anyways, no, I think if we wanted to here's my crazy take for the Apple TV now. And this goes against everything that I've been saying
Are
because
you going to just say it like an actual TV?
no, I would like that, but I don't think they're going to. No, it's worse,
Okay.
honestly. It's worse. So Apple TV Stick should be the name. It's a terrible name, but Apple wouldn't do that. And it also doesn't fit with any of the stuff that I've been saying about making things cohesive. But Apple TV Stick, Apple TV Box should be the box, or just keep it Apple TV. I was just trying to be funny, but Apple TV Box. And then this is where it gets wild. Apple TV Bar, and that is your sound bar.
Right. Yeah, that would be really nice combined with a HomePod. Uh, like a HomePod TV, HomePod Theater, that has got to come at some point.
But that's where I'm weird on the name, because like Apple TV, if they do have a stick version, Apple TV Stick, Apple TV Bar for your like high-end luxury sound bar pro Apple TV model, and then just the regular Apple TV in the middle. I said box just to make it funny and like be shapes. But and stick with the rest of it. But Yeah, no, like a sound bar, Apple TV bar. That's your highest Apple TV you can get. It gives you a, spatial audio, basically like a Sonos Arc.
Yeah.
Be like $800.
Effectively just like a HomePod theater setup.
Yeah.
Home theater setup.
Yeah. That's it.
So
do you want to do the colors real quick? Okay, we'll do the colors real quick. Bonus.
I feel like I can't just let it sit that all Apple devices should be offered in the same, sort of bright colors. Because here's what I would do. I would have the same colors across equivalent product lines. So if you have the standard, so basically, we've talked a lot about this, like these entry level products, so like the iPad SE, the iPhone SE, all of this stuff should be offered in the same colors, and that probably should also be the same selection of colors that you get with the mid tier, what would be like the standard iPhone 15, the MacBook Air, the standard iMac models. I'm fine with that being the same colors as well. And if you want to have those colors be more bright, be more fun, have more of them, then that's fine. But the Pro models should be something different. They should be deeper, richer colors like you get with the Pro models. So if you get a bright green on the MacBook Air, then you should get like a dark emerald green on your iMac Pro. So it clearly delineates.
That's fine. Let's just make them match the Pro models of everything then. Whatever colors you can get for your iPhone Pro, you can get for your MacBook Pro and your iMac Pro and your whatever, the Mac Studio should count.
Yeah, that's key.
Okay, fine. I'm just sick and tired of can we just get like a couple more for the Pros then?
Yeah, I think we should.
But see, that's the thing. Are you going to buy a Pro?
Popular.
Are you going to buy a Pro blue laptop? I mean, I would, but if it was like a Pro style color, like the dark blue that's rumored right now, would you buy that in your Mac? I probably would.
Dark blue, I probably wouldn't, but I think if there was a consistent palette of colors, like ultimately, if everything was available in silver, like graphite / space gray / space black / matte black, whatever you want to call it, jet black, whatever, and then gold or starlight or whatever, that's good enough to be offered across all Pro models. And then maybe every year you offer one other color, whether that's green, dark blue, dark red, and just one other, so that it makes it a little bit more manageable.
Yeah. I don't know that I currently like the way Apple does it with like adding different colors and then taking them away for the because I really like the green Pro that came out for the 13. I want that now. Why can't I get that now? And then next year, we're getting a dumb blue again. Like the blue is better. I do not like Sierra blue. I know you guys all love it. I don't think I liked any of the blue that happened. Honestly, I didn't like the dark blue the way that one looked. I like this one that's rumored, or at least what we have in our mock-ups there, based off of the rumors. I like that one more. But like, I don't know. I'd rather have a green. The dark green was good. Or like a...
This is the thing with colors. You'll never please everyone.
No,
but the one thing that we can agree on is that you need to have consistency across the devices.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's our way to fix Apple. We're going to fix Apple. That's the story. That's our title of this episode. How we fix Apple. And I would like to hear from you. How do you guys want to fix Apple? Let us know, and then we will catch everyone in the next episode.